In the world of Street Fighter, power is rarely simple. It is not just strength, speed, or technique. It is philosophy. It is belief. It is the power a warrior chooses when standing alone with their own limitations. And few forces embody that idea more completely than the Satsui no Hado. Often translated as the surge of killing intent, the Satsui no Hado is not merely a dark power-up. It is a current that runs beneath the surface of certain fighters. It feeds on rage, obsession, and the willingness to abandon restraint. Today, we are exploring three manifestations of that force: Evil Ryu, Kage, and Oni, three beings connected by the same dark energy, with radically different relationships to it. Evil Ryu is what happens when Ryu succumbs. Kage is what happens when the Hado refuses to be denied. And Oni is what stands at the end of the path. To understand them, we must understand not just power, but what power does to the self. Evil Ryu is not a clone, nor is he a separate entity entirely. He is Ryu, if Ryu gives in. The Satsui no Hado has always existed within Ryu, and during the events of Street Fighter Alpha 2, it is Akuma who senses that dormant darkness within him, and tells Ryu to train under it, goading him with the promise of the rematch Akuma has always craved. By Street Fighter Alpha 3, the struggle intensifies, and Evil Ryu makes his appearance as the manifestation of Ryu's internal collapse. In the home versions of the game, if normal Ryu faces Evil Ryu, they share in a special introduction. Ryu strikes first with a rushing elbow, and Evil Ryu counterattacks, a symbolic battle playing out inside his own mind. In this state, Ryu becomes cold, conceited, and obsessed with proving himself against the strongest. He resembles Akuma, but without Akuma's discipline. His anger is not mindless, but it is stripped of every trace of compassion. Where Akuma seeks worthy opponents, Evil Ryu seeks annihilation. During his confrontation with Sagat in Alpha 3, Sagat sees immediately that something is wrong. He tells Evil Ryu to look at himself, that he has lost control. This is not the rival who scarred his chest in their fateful first encounter. Sagat refuses to acknowledge him as the true Ryu, declaring that a real warrior would never succumb to such a cheap trick. He will wait for his true rival to return. But Evil Ryu presses forward and defeats M. Bison, who warns him that he is only human and will plunge deeper into the darkness as his power grows. He then clashes with Shin Akuma, both fighters unleashing the Shun Goku Satsu simultaneously, their lethal techniques neutralizing one another. When Evil Ryu finally defeats Shin Akuma, he is left dazed, hunched over, clutching his chest, before screaming in a rush of terrible exhilaration. The final scene of his story mode shows Evil Ryu standing over his fallen opponents. He deems himself the supreme master of the fist. The kanji for destruction burns across his back, his final words echoing with obsession. Where can I find the one who can defeat me? However, it is not triumph, it is emptiness. He has taken on Akuma's original burden, but unlike Akuma, he has no code to bear it. By the time we reach Ultra Street Fighter 2 and Street Fighter 4, the transformation is fully realized. In his ending, Evil Ryu murders two Shadaloo soldiers without hesitation after they attempt to summon him to Bison. He growls that the Hado craves blood. He claims nothing less than a fight to the death can quench the violence inside him. But unlike Akuma, whose relationship with the Satsui no Hado is controlled through rigorous discipline and a strict warrior's code, Evil Ryu is consumed. His control of the Satsui no Hado is completely unstable. The power has fully overtaken his mind. The Satsui no Hado, left unchecked, does not elevate Ryu. It erases him. Yet, Evil Ryu would ultimately not make it into the main timeline. In Street Fighter IV, Ryu's master, Goken, manages to seal the Satsui no Hado within Ryu, using the power of nothingness. But the Hado is not gone. By Street Fighter V, it resurfaces. In Ryu's character story, Evil Ryu appears in a dream, urging his normal self to accept that the power of destruction is the destiny of his fist. Ryu rejects him, knowing that this is not the answer, and Evil Ryu ceases to be possible. But something else emerged. At first glance, you may think Kage is Evil Ryu, but he is something else. Evil Ryu is Ryu consumed. Kage is the Satsui no Hado itself, given physical form. He is not a version of Ryu, he is the dark energy that once dwelled inside of Ryu, now manifesting independently, taking on Ryu's appearance as its own likeness. When Ryu rejects the Satsui no Hado in Street Fighter V, he does not destroy it. The Hado, denied a willing host, does something unexpected, and incarnates. It separates from Ryu, and stalks the world as Kage. Kage believes himself to be the stronger part of his former host. He is cocky, sadistic, and openly relishes the fear of those he defeats. But that confidence masks a deeper fragility. His first test comes against Sagat, and Kage pummels Sagat easily, but the Thai Emperor is not impressed. The man who beat him is not the same warrior he has been waiting for, and Sagat recognizes that this is not Ryu, but a shadow. Kage vanishes from the encounter with nothing to show for his victory. He then confronts Akuma. Akuma senses something and initially mistakes Kage for Ryu, before realizing what's truly standing before him: a soulless silhouette. Kage taunts Akuma, and the two fight. Believing that he has won, Kage mocks the demon, claiming that his devotion to the law of heaven is holding him back. But Akuma is nowhere near beaten. He rises and delivers a devastating Hoten Seiken Geki, making Kage disappear. Akuma's dismissal is cutting, but all Kage really thinks of is strength and fighting. It has no comprehension of the philosophy behind the power that it wields. And this is a key distinction between Evil Ryu and Kage. Evil Ryu is unstable humanity, a person drowning in power he cannot control, whereas Kage is disembodied instinct, raw force without a self to anchor it. But both are rejected. The final confrontation with Ryu takes place atop Suzaku Castle. Kage returns to Ryu and begins insulting him, and forcibly attempts to corrupt him once more. But Ryu does something unexpected. He does not rage. He does not resist violently. He does not fear. Ryu tells Kage that he will not deny his existence, but he cannot accept that they are the same. He is not fighting to win, he says, but he is not fighting to lose either. After the battle, Kage mocks Ryu one last time, and Ryu calmly dismisses him. If Kage wants to corrupt him, then it may try. If it wants to leave, then it may leave. The choice is Kage's. This leaves Kage distraught and confused. Why? Why isn't Ryu afraid? And then, he vanishes. Ryu nullifies Kage entirely, because without fear, without obsession, without a host willing to surrender, the Satsui no Hado has no anchor. Kage is not defeated by force, he is defeated by acceptance. He fades because he was never truly alive. And this now brings us to the final evolution of the Satsui no Hado. If Evil Ryu represents collapse and Kage represents separation, then Oni represents transcendence. Oni is not a separate being from Akuma, and the developers themselves describe him as Akuma beyond Shin Akuma, the form Akuma takes when he becomes almost one with the Satsui no Hado, but not so completely that he loses his humanity. He is more powerful, but still recognizably a warrior with a code. Oni is what happens when that last thread of humanity snaps. Through years of training and meditation, Akuma may have suppressed some of the darker aspects of the Satsui no Hado, allowing him to control his actions. But as Oni, he has finally and fully become one with it. The power has completely overtaken him. In this form, Akuma discards his remaining humanity, declaring it of no use to evil incarnate. He abandons his identity as Akuma. He abandons his moral code as a warrior. Where Akuma sought honorable duels with worthy opponents, Oni will fight anyone to the death, regardless of their condition. His introduction paints the picture vividly. His roar echoes through the night, causing a nearby tree to explode and a bird to drop dead. He looks up and proclaims that he is evil incarnate, and his ending is perhaps the most iconic image of what he has become. He stands in the center of a volcano, and with a single strike of his hand against the ground, the volcano erupts, lava engulfing him as he emerges laughing, untouched, yelling ferociously into the sky. The fact that Akuma's original CFN profile and his Street Fighter VI design bear a striking resemblance to Oni, the white hair, the lack of a gi top and sandals, suggests that Oni is not merely a what-if scenario, but is ultimately what awaits Akuma at the end of his path. Where Evil Ryu falls, where Kage fades, Oni endures. Because he did not fight the Satsui no Hado, he became it. So what do these three truly represent? Evil Ryu is surrender. He gives in to the Satsui no Hado without understanding it. His morality collapses. His empathy vanishes. He becomes destructive, not through discipline, but through hunger. And hunger never ends. His is the path of indulgence. Kage is rejection made manifest. He exists because Ryu refused the Hado, but could not erase it entirely. He is ego without anchor, power without identity, a shadow screaming for validation. And without a host, he cannot survive. His is the path of separation. Finally, Oni is transcendence. Akuma refined the Hado, controlled it, and ultimately discarded his humanity entirely. Akuma did not lose himself to the power, he restructured himself around it. His is the path of transformation. The Satsui no Hado itself is not evil, but a force. One that amplifies what is already present. In Ryu, it amplified doubt and obsession. In Kage, it amplified instinct and ego. And in Akuma, it amplified discipline and a lust for power into godhood. The difference is not the power itself, but the will behind it. In the end, Ryu survived because he integrated his darkness without surrendering to it. He did not destroy the Satsui no Hado, he acknowledged it, and refused to fear it, moving beyond it. Akuma survives because he accepts the cost, even when that cost is his own humanity. The true horror of the Satsui no Hado is not that it corrupts you, but reveals who you truly are. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into the darker corners of Street Fighter lore, consider supporting the channel by hitting the like button, smashing subscribe, and joining me on my Patreon page, helping to keep these character explorations alive. Until next time, keep on being excellent to yourselves and one another, and I'll see you soon.